Hey traders, good afternoon. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Wednesday. And I'll kind of start with this with the S&P chart for the day because this is just the market environment that we're in. Basically down 17 basis points. And looking at this, there's really not much, unless you're an index trader. I really have been paying very little attention to the S&P because, other than watching a little bit of support and resistance, it's just really, really boring. There is so much going on in individual names. It is ridiculous. You know, if you're trading, I hate to say this to those S&P futures traders, but if you are trading S&P futures, you have to be um, out of your mind because it is not the right environment to be trading S&P futures. There is just an amazing movement between or amongst different sectors. Obviously we'll start with crude for the day because that kind of caused the volatility. I think otherwise then S&P would have been up today, but you've got just a major separation going on in sectors. So the S&P is just kind of sitting here, and you just have to be in the right. It's a stock picker's market. You have to be in the right groups of stocks that are moving. So crude just looks ugly. I'm not going to go into crazy detail about crude. I've got my own view. Kind of talked about that earlier in the trading room. That there's just a lot of supply out there with crude. Technology is getting better in alternative energy, solar, solar, wind, and so forth. These things are going to get better. I just, I haven't really wanted to buy an energy name in a long time. They're all breaking down. I mean, they're surprised that XLE is holding in as well as it is. The only thing I regret is not shorting. I haven't really been shorting a lot of the XLE. XOP. I just haven't been advocating it. Below the 200-day moving average, it's been basically good night. And a real good example why you don't want to hold things other than maybe for a day trade that are below the 200-day moving average. It just is it's great sense for a change in trend. And if you kind of use that, which I did, I was long a couple energy things way back when, and once they broke the 200-day moving average, I said, get out of those names. So I don't really have any shorts on, which stinks to not be shorting this big move down here. We have just seen a lot of call activity and a lot of speculative energy names like WFT, Whiting, WLL, Hess. We saw some big calls go up a couple weeks ago. So I haven't bought any of these things, and it kind of just did not allow me to really sell things. We just saw so much bullish paper go up in individual names. It kind of just led me. I always look for a couple different things to kind of all go together. Technicals as well as aggressive flow, and the aggressive flow has been buying energy names, and so if you have a trading system like I do and just said, hey, I'm not going to buy things that are in downtrends, I think you really made out quite nice here. Shorting would have been even better, but at least not owning these things, uh, is saving grace or getting out on the 200-day moving average. So that's all I'm really going to talk about energy. I really haven't been in this space at all for the last couple months since it broke the 200-day moving average. So there's not really much else for me to kind of talk about other than I think they're all in downtrends. Speaking of solar names, look at CSIQ. Some nice calls being bought in the solar name. The name's up 7.2%. This thing's flirted with the 200-day moving average a couple times now, and is kind of failed a few times. Maybe this time is the time that it goes. So I did not start a position in this thing. Why it's kind of looks attractive to me is if you look at a 5-year chart, this is once a $35-$40 stock, now at 14 bucks. So maybe this thing starts to catch here. A couple other names I think are also moving up in this group if you look at the whole ETF. So I didn't really want to start with solar, but so just going back to why the S&P is flat, you go over to the Qs and a lot of action going on in the Qs. So the Qs actually finally looks like they turned the corner today. So they did this a couple days ago and kind of fell flat yesterday. So we'll see if we've got some momentum if we could start retracing some of this big candle. My guess is I don't want to make a prediction. Because predictions are stupid. But I think that we continue to go higher here. That's how I'm positioned in technology right now. I'm long a little Amazon. I'm long a little Google call spreads as well. So that's my plan. I should have actually let off with biotech. My goodness, this is what a breakout looks like. Holy cow! So Something we kind of talked about this yesterday. Somebody was asking to maybe fade this move. Biotech has been moving sideways now for a long time. So the fact that this thing woke up, I'm a little bit worried that tomorrow I think they're unveiling this plan. So, but man, what a move! I think this week XBI is up, which I might have this up anymore. No, I don't. XBI is up, I think about 10% for the week, which is the equally weighted ETF. Again, the difference between XBI and IBB is XBI has more smaller names in it. It's equally weighted versus IBB is market cap weighted, so the larger names. But same breakout here in both these names. And man, what a move and what a touch on the 200-day moving average. Celgene was a name that we've been talking about. Look at the move in Celgene from the 200-day pop from the 200-day moving average. I mean, just in a small amount of time, 115 to 132, and it's just like this across the board. So we played yesterday. We played Gilead yesterday because we just followed the call buying, but we're starting to see a lot of different call buyers show up now in individual names. We saw some calls go up in Sarepta today. We saw some calls go up in Mallinckrodt today. I played both of these names today. Mallinckrodt was a huge winner. I got into this trade, I think, for $1.20 today. Got out at $1.85. They keep buying Gilead. Gilead, I think, has run into some resistance. I don't know if it actually got over it. So it is. I don't have the 100-day moving average here, but it is also today above the 100-day moving average. Watch this level in Gilead. Basically, the top of value, 67.35. Again, this is a prediction which you don't want to hear, but I'm guessing that it back and fills a little bit, and then maybe goes up, hits the 200-day moving average. But we'll see. Just a prediction. But they could just continue to go after this name. We got into this trade yesterday in the trading room when we saw some weeklies purchased. Now they started today. They bought a lot of July options rather than just the weeklies. Yesterday it was just quick and fast with the weekly options. But it's a Gilead made another 3% move today after yesterday's big candle. So, just a huge move. Besides biotech, which I really think, with XBI up 4.7%, that's just key and just why you want to be, I think, trading individual names, just trading individual names. Listen, I'm not trying to give any recommendations or anything like that, but that's where the volatility is. These things are really moving, and the momentum is. So I don't know if we're going to get that day tomorrow going into, but it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun playing these sectors. The Chinese internets started to wake up today, so I'm long a couple names in here. I got long JD.com last week, which beautiful move. I mean, up 5.6%. So really nice move on Monday, and just up 5.6%. So I am making a lot of money on this trade right now, which I'm very happy. And but the whole space looks like it's carrying higher. Baba is just a huge day, up 4%. Baidu, we saw some calls on Monday, weekly calls on Monday. We saw a little bit more calls. This is a different looking chart. Maybe this thing tries to get into the bottom of value here. But I go back to the whole. I go back to the whole group, which is this KWEB ETF. And I actually added. I started a position. I talked about it in the weekend newsletter here. And I said this thing may hold the 50-day moving average, and it's really the best thing. I don't know how to better describe it as one of the best things when you're dealing with something that is in a huge uptrend, and you get a pullback into support, which is the 50-day moving average. So I was a little bit late. I went long on Monday on this white bar. In hindsight, it would have been great to kind of stick my neck out and go long on Friday, but still, even going long on Monday, it's starting to turn the corner, and I think it might start heading back here. If you remember, this day was when Baba announced the earnings, and a lot of the Chinese internet started up on the day and ended up lower. So I was in a long trade here, got out of it on this day, and then the remaining piece up here, and I've just kind of been sitting and being patient. So that was my ad to get back in was back on Monday. So what else? Besides biotech, even the gold miners were up a little bit. Both bonds and gold were up a little bit today. Could be a little bit of the fear with with oil moving down so much. The VIX ended up down 1% today. It did actually climb up midday. I think when oil was really volatile, you could kind of see it as it did its usual move, which was to sell off at the end of the day. A couple other groups, the semis, we started to see some action. The semis chart is very similar. If you look at a daily chart to even the Chinese internet, they all kind of did the same thing. All of these names that were in big uptrends. Let's see, where do I want to bring this? Look at this. And let me just switch this back to 1 year chart. Same type of chart. Running into a name or group of stock semiconductors that have been in a big uptrend, and kind of came into some support. So what a great place to buy. We started to see it hasn't been all one-sided. We've been seeing Intel puts, Taiwan semi puts the last couple days. They look like, Intel actually looks like it's starting to break down. So, maybe SMH is not the best vehicle for this because Intel is a big weight of that ETF. But we started to see call buying in Broadcom today. You can see Broadcom looks a little bit more healthy. It almost looks exactly like that China Internet ETF. Broadcom, obviously AMD was the other story. I can't believe I forgot about AMD. AMD, I think, ended up about 10% today. So it has now filled this whole earnings gap. So it is back to where it was. Everybody was kind of getting really worried about this name. Look at the support that it had on the 200-day moving average. Every once in a while, I'll get somebody who says, why do you use moving averages? Because look at the guide that you get. It just helps you define support and resistance, where you would want to get into something or where you would want to get out. It just helps you identify the trend. So real nice support here. It actually came back a little bit and retested the 200-day moving average almost, and then since then it's been up and away the last couple of days. Came in with that little bit of tech volatility that we had last week. Nvidia also just continues to move higher. Micron, which has seen nonstop call buying, really strong. So that's it. I would say also retail is just not another group that I really don't want to be in. That one's breaking below the 200-day moving average. So again, if you go back to the S&P where it's essentially flat, because you've got some sectors that are really moving away from each other, and when you net them all together, because a lot of these names are in the S&P is going to be flat. So you just have to kind of be in the ones that are trending up here, and you have to be in this market. I am a stock picker because that is the best alpha that I think is in this market. I'll say just one other thing here. Just like we said last night with a lot of earnings that came out after the close, Adobe and Red Hat, Oracle. I always get these symbols confused between Aclera. I mean, another name, you keep waiting for like the other shoe to fall off of like, oh, maybe Oracle's going to bomb earnings or something is going to happen in this tech space, but they keep coming out with really good earnings. So I think you just want to stick with the trend. And I just have a tough time trying to say that tech is going to break down when they keep coming out with really good earnings. So, I will stay the course until we actually break some support in any of the major moving averages, such as the 50-day. Thanks everybody for watching today's video. Have a great night.